What if everything that goes wrong in your life is your fault? Not just the small mistakes, just the things you could have controlled, but everything. The failures of your team, the collapse of a plan, the breakdown of communication, even the chaos you didn't cause. All of it somehow yours to own. It sounds brutal, unfair even. But what if that idea, owning everything, was actually the key to becoming powerful beyond measure? This is not just a book about war. It's a book about leadership in its rawest, most unforgiving form, where lives are on the line, where the margin for error is razor thin, and where excuses mean nothing. Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink and Leif Babin isn't a leadership manual. It's a battlefield memoir soaked in blood, fear, discipline, and truth. The authors, both former Navy SEAL commanders, don't write from theory. They write from the violent chaos of Ramadi, Iraq, where leadership wasn't a choice, it was survival. This book matters because it rewrites the story we tell ourselves about responsibility. It strips away the lies, the blame, the comfort zones, and it hands us a mirror, not to shame us, but to challenge us. Whether you're leading a company, a classroom, a family, or just trying to lead yourself, the lessons in Extreme Ownership cut to the core of what it means to lead with courage. Because leadership isn't about rank or charisma, it's about owning every failure so completely that success becomes inevitable. The dust of Ramadi clings to everything, to boots, to rifles, to memory. It's 2006, one of the most violent years in the Iraq War. The streets are laced with IEDs, the rooftops hide snipers. Every doorway could be a death trap. This is the world Jocko Willink and Leif Babin are thrown into. Not just to fight, but to lead. Task Unit Bruiser. That was their team, a brotherhood of SEALs, each man trained to the edge of human ability, yet painfully aware that all the training in the world can stop one wrong decision from turning a mission into a massacre. Early in the book, we're taken into a mission gone wrong. A firefight so chaotic, so tragically misaligned, that American forces nearly killed each other. A friendly fire incident, the worst failure imaginable. Confusion had spread like wildfire. Poor communication, bad coordination, fear, chaos. In the aftermath, the military demanded answers. Who was to blame? Jocko stood before the top brass and gave the most unexpected answer possible. It was my fault. Not the radio operator. Not the shooter. Not the intelligence team. Him, the commander. The leader. The one who didn't pull the trigger but accepted total responsibility. This is extreme ownership in its purest form. No excuses, no hiding. Just ownership. From this moment, the narrative tightens its grip, because we realize this isn't a story about combat. It's about a mindset forged in the fire of it. Every chapter unfolds with a new mission, a new principle. After the war story, the authors step into the corporate world, showing how the same leadership principles apply in boardrooms, business teams, and even family life. Take the chapter cover and move. In combat, this means one team suppresses the enemy while the other maneuvers. In business, it's teamwork, departments supporting each other, not competing. When marketing fights sales, when operations blames logistics, everyone loses. Victory, Jocko writes, requires unity. Then there's simple. War is complex. The battlefield changes every second. But the solution? Simplicity. Overcomplicated plans die in confusion. Simplicity gives clarity, especially when the pressure is highest. If a leader can't simplify the mission, they've already failed. Another lesson cuts deeper. Prioritize and execute. When bullets are flying and chaos erupts, even the best trained minds can freeze. But SEALs are taught to breathe, step back and ask, what's the most important thing right now? In one mission, Leif recounts being pinned down by enemy fire. While another unit was under attack across town, radios screamed, decisions collided. He had to shut out the noise, prioritize, and move, fast and precise. That principle saved countless businesses from crumbling under stress. But none of these lessons are delivered from a distance. They come from sweat, from watching brothers bleed, from carrying the weight of decisions that cost lives. That's why they resonate so deeply. One of the most gripping stories in the first half of the book is about a young SEAL sniper who hesitates. The team is taking fire, but he doesn't return it. He's afraid he might hit a civilian. Jocko pulls him aside later and doesn't tear him down. Instead, he teaches, builds, turns the mistake into fuel for growth. His leadership, real leadership, isn't about punishment. It's about ownership and development. By the middle of the book, a pattern emerges. Every principle in extreme ownership is tested in the furnace of war, and then proven again in the battles of everyday life. Whether it's a mission in Iraq or a failing startup in New York, the enemy is the same: ego, excuses, and lack of clarity. The weapon, ownership. We've seen the power of that mindset in motion. Now the stakes are about to rise. Mistakes will compound. Missions will grow more complex. The greatest leadership challenge of all is still to come. Because it's one thing to own your own mistakes. It's another to lead others through theirs. As the dust of Ramadi thickens, the missions become deadlier. The margin for error narrows to the width of a trigger pull, and the weight of command presses harder. It's here, in this crucible, that leadership is truly forged or broken. By the midpoint of extreme ownership, the lessons become more nuanced, more unforgiving. The SEAL teams are deep into enemy territory, running operations in neighborhoods controlled by insurgents. Every decision is life or death. And now, the authors turn their attention to one of the most critical and often misunderstood elements of leadership: decentralized command. It sounds contradictory. Leaders giving up control? But on the battlefield, micromanagement is a death sentence. The man on the ground has to be empowered to make decisions fast. In one mission, Jocko recalls how a junior SEAL, under extreme pressure, made a call that saved lives. It's not because he was ordered to, but because he understood the mission and was trusted to act. This is a key shift. Leadership is no longer about commanding obedience. It's about cultivating ownership in others, so that the mission doesn't fall apart if the leader goes down. Back home, Leif applies the same lesson to a corporate client. A company where management is drowning in day-to-day decisions. Employees wait for orders. Projects stall. Morale crumbles. Why? Because no one else feels ownership. The fix: empower mid-level managers. Clarify the mission, then get out of the way. The battlefield shifts again. The stakes rise. The sniper team is cut off during a raid. Communication breaks down. Reinforcements miscalculate their entry point. And for the first time, the team isn't just facing enemies. They're fighting confusion. Misunderstood intent, poor execution, and yet again, someone has to step forward and own the chaos. In this moment, Jocko introduces one of the most painful truths of leadership. There are no bad teams, only bad leaders. He proves it with a brutal SEAL training exercise. 2 boat teams competing in punishing races. One team keeps losing, exhausted, demoralized, blaming each other. The instructor makes one small change. He switches the team leaders. Suddenly, the losing team starts winning. Nothing else changed. Same boat, same men. Just a new leader who took ownership, demanded excellence, and built belief. That's when it hits like a lightning bolt. Leadership sets the tone for everything. The attitude, the performance, the cohesion. Weak leadership creates weak teams. Strong leadership transforms average into unstoppable. But even with all this power, the greatest threat isn't the enemy outside. It's the enemy within: ego. As operations escalate in Iraq, both Jocko and Leif face moments where pride could have killed men. A decision made to prove a point, a refusal to listen, an unwillingness to admit a plan isn't working. Ego is seductive and deadly. The book doesn't preach, it confesses. Both men speak openly about moments when their egos nearly blinded them. They owned it. They adapted. And in doing so, they survived. In the final chapters, the lessons begin to merge. Leadership is no longer just tactical. It becomes spiritual. It becomes about humility, discipline, belief. Discipline equals freedom. That phrase is repeated like a war cry. To the untrained, it sounds like a paradox. But for the SEALs, it's the ultimate truth. Discipline and training creates freedom in chaos. Discipline and structure creates room for creativity. Discipline and execution delivers consistent victory. The final missions in the book are less about action and more about reflection. The war is winding down, but the mental scars remain. Mistakes still haunt them. Lives lost, choices made. But ownership, radical, brutal, beautiful ownership, has given them peace. Because they know they did everything they could. They faced the truth. Now they pass that truth on to leaders around the world, from battlefield to boardroom. The last lesson is a quiet one, but it echoes long after the pages close. The best leaders are not those who seek glory. They're the ones who take the blame when things fall apart and give the credit when things go right. They are invisible giants, lifting others, absorbing the weight, and never pointing fingers. Because extreme ownership isn't about power, it's about responsibility. And responsibility changes everything. You have not enough humanizer words left. Upgrade your surfer plan. At the heart of extreme ownership are two men forged by war, Jocko Willink and Leif Babin. Not mythical heroes, not flawless commanders, but deeply human leaders who were shaped, scarred, and strengthened by some of the most brutal tests a person can face. Jocko is the commanding officer, the embodiment of controlled aggression. He speaks in short, precise sentences, not because he lacks words, but because every word carries weight. On the battlefield, his calm in chaos, his complete refusal to panic, sets the tone for everyone under his command. But he's also painfully self-aware. He doesn't hide his mistakes, reveals them. Not to showcase humility, but because truth is the only currency that matters when lives are at stake. Leif, his right-hand man, is younger, equally fierce, but with a different flavor. He leads from the front, bleeds with his men, and learns quickly that leadership is not about barking orders, it's about building trust. One of Leif's most poignant moments in the book is when he takes responsibility for a failed mission that was directly his fault. But that's the standard. If you're in charge, everything is your responsibility, and that is the soul of the book. Extreme ownership doesn't mean taking blame for the sake of it. It means recognizing that the only way to truly lead is to remove the option of excuses. If the team fails, it's your fault. Someone doesn't understand the mission, it's your fault. If results aren't delivered, it's on you. Always. That sounds harsh, but it's liberating. Because once you remove blame, you regain control. And control is the birthplace of power. The themes run deeper than just military strategy. Discipline equals freedom is one of the core ideas. It's the paradox that discipline, structure, order, and repetition doesn't confine you. It empowers you, just like a seal who trains endlessly to react instinctively under fire. Discipline in daily life gives you the mental bandwidth to thrive when life turns chaotic. Another theme, cover and move. The battlefield principle of mutual support. No one fights alone. One team lays down suppressive fire, the other advances. It's teamwork at its highest form. In business and life, this translates to departments, partnerships, families. No one can win solo. The moment teams start blaming, siloing, or hoarding credit, the mission starts to fail. And then there's default aggressive. Not reckless violence, but a mindset of initiative. A refusal to wait, to act first, to adapt faster. In leadership, this means stepping into difficult conversations, making bold decisions, not waiting for permission to fix what's broken. One of the most powerful lines in the book captures the spirit of it all. Leadership is the most important thing on the battlefield. Not gear, not numbers, not luck. Leadership. Because everything else flows from it. And yet, it's not about charisma or titles. It's about accountability, clarity, willingness to face the hardest truth of all, that if the mission failed, it's because you failed. But here's the twist. In embracing that, you rise, you grow. And your team does too. Because extreme ownership is contagious. It doesn't just transform leaders, it transforms everyone they touch. When the final page turns, extreme ownership doesn't leave you with a checklist, it leaves you with a mirror. A mirror that asks one question, again and again, louder and louder, until you can't ignore it. What are you truly responsible for? That you've been pretending isn't yours to own? This book is not comfortable. It doesn't coddle you. God doesn't hand you inspirational fluff or sugar-coated advice. What it gives you instead is something rarer. Clarity. Brutal, liberating clarity. You begin to see it everywhere. In how you lead at work, in how you treat your family, in how you face setbacks, failures, and even your own flaws. You realize that excuses are seductive, but they steal your power. Blame is easy, but it's a dead end in ownership. Real ownership is the only way forward. For leaders of teams, for entrepreneurs building something from the ground up, for students, parents, creatives, CEOs, this book is a guide, not to perfection, but to responsibility, to discipline, to growth through fire, and that's why it matters. Stream ownership teaches that leadership is not a position, it's a choice. It's a daily commitment to rise above ego, above chaos, and above fear. To take command of what you can control, to lead, not from behind, but from within. Because the world doesn't need more commanders. It needs more leaders. It's the kind who don't wait for someone else to fix it. It's the kind who look in the mirror and say, if it's broken, I'll fix it. If it failed, I'll own it. If no one else will lead, I will. That is extreme ownership. And once you embrace it, you never lead the same way again.